Man, it's hard to break us now. It's hard to break us. As a matter of fact, you ain't going to do it.
Open look, Boaz, he hits it! What a play called by Tom Izzo in that timeout.
I was 7 years old watching a football game by myself, and I saw those winged helmets come out of the tunnel, and I was hooked at that point.
Kane in Chicago! Oh my God! Kane with the overtime winner!
Jameer Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
He drives, lobs to JD for a jam.
You play real good, you start. You don't play as good, you work your way back in. It's the American way, except America has gotten soft. But that is the American way. That's the way it works.
This is the 6'6" Kane Jameson Williams, he's got it! Touchdown, Lions! Now it's Larkin with a burst of speed. He scores! Gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
What's the feeling you have right now as a Detroit sports fan? Welcome, everybody. Glad you're with us on a Tullymore Tuesday. Yeah, man, golf season is upon us. No better place to play than Tullymore. Absolutely spectacular there. You're going to want to make your trips and the planning for those trips quickly, all right? Andy and his friends should be there sometime this summer. I hope to make it multiple times there this summer, but it is a Tullymore Tuesday. This is X's and Bros throughout the great state of Michigan. We are so honored that you're going to spend a little bit of your Tuesday with us. With Andy McDonald, I'm Matt Shepard. The Meyer Hotline, 866-838-4843. Text line, Sports Radio 21,000. We always do the update to start to give you just an idea of what took place overnight in case you didn't get a chance to watch much of it. Tigers fall to the Red Sox in the series opener 5-4. Boston comes from 2-0 down. They bang out 12 hits. They played all 5 runs in the 7th. Detroit only collected 3 hits. Moving forward, this offense is going to have to try and carry this team, right? I mean, that's the assumption. Before, you and I talked about what we liked about this team when it broke camp. I said I really liked the bullpen and I liked the starting pitching. Of course, that starting pitching at the time was who? It was Tarek Skubal. It was Framber Valdez. It was Casey Mize. It was Justin Verlander, Jack Flaherty. It didn't put them in any particular order, but that's about the way it goes, right? Now you look at the starting rotation, and it is completely different.
It's a lot different, not in the good way.
And not in a good way. You're 100% right there. But last night, in fairness, and I was on the Bill Simonson huge show yesterday afternoon, and I said, look, you sure don't want to talk about Ty Madden every 5th day, considering Ty Madden has an ERA in a few starts, just a handful of starts, 6 starts, 5 starts down in Toledo, has an ERA of about 5. So if you're struggling a little bit in that regard, he was 2-0, but struggling a little bit in that regard in Toledo, then what in the world are you going to get at the major league level? And then last year, he was out with an injury, missed all of last season with an injury. In 2024, he pitched for Erie and Toledo and had an ERA of 7. So why would you expect big things from him? Well, AJ Hinch does such a good job. He and Chris Fetter really do a hell of a job with their pitching staff. I know it doesn't seem like it with Jack Flaherty. I've made that argument before. You're always willing to, I remember when Chuck Hernandez was the pitching coach here, or Rick Anderson, and people would blame the pitching coach for poor performances. Okay. They got to take some responsibility, right? Maybe it's a game plan. You do the same thing with hitting coaches. And I like Chris Fetter, and I think he's a hell of a pitching coach. But while everybody's praising him, it's like, well, what about Jack Flaherty? How come he stinks up the joint? Are we blaming Chris Fetter for Kenley Jansen blowing, 3 saves this year? Are we going to blame him for the bullpen blowing 7, 8 leads now after last night? No, we're not. Are we going to give him credit for what Ty Madden did last night? In his season debut, 5 innings, 4 hits, no runs, no walks, and 7 punch-outs. He had a 29% whiff rate. He had 4 strikeouts on his cutter.
Yeah, he threw like 5 different pitches, didn't he? They all look pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good. I remember when they drafted him out of Texas, I was thrilled because, yes, I was one of those guys. I don't do it as much anymore, but I was one of those guys who watched a lot of college baseball. He was the 32nd pick in the draft in 2021. Maybe he's starting to come into his own now. Maybe this will give him a ton of confidence. He's 26 years old, so it's about time, right? Anyway, he was pretty good starting wise, but then the bullpen caved. The same bullpen that helped you win the game before against Texas because it was an opener, remember? This is the way it works in baseball. And, of course, the disheartening news coming Monday, Tarek Skubal, supposed to start the series opener, placed on the AL, bone chips in his left elbow, or bodies, loose bodies in the elbow. No timetable on when he can come back. Has to have surgery. A typical timetable for this recovery from surgery is 2 to 3 months. That's typical. Doesn't mean it always happens. Kurt Schilling put this out on social media yesterday. He was back in 17 days. So you can hope all you want. That would be great. We're hoping for the best. You're praying for the best. Worst case scenario, though, is, 3 months or so. And then what does that do? That's something we'll dive into here throughout the morning. In addition to that, we'll give you examples of others who've had to deal with this and what their timetable was. It's not a panic discussion. It's an informative discussion. And we will do that, too, at 7:35 as we build up to the conversation. At 7:35 with Dr. Jeffrey Pierce, he'll give us an idea of what Skubal is going through and what it will take to try and get him back.
Yeah, I'm looking very forward to that one just because I feel like right now on Twitter, everybody's trying to play doctor and you're just hearing a bunch of different things. So I love to hear it from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. Yeah,
Jeffrey Pierce has worked with elite athletes his entire career. He's worked with the Red Wings. He's worked with the Pistons. He's worked with Darren McCarty. He's worked with George Gervin. He's worked with elite athletes his entire career. So there's a lot of credibility there. I think you're going to learn something for sure from Dr. Jeffrey Pierce. He's really, really good. So the Tigers get that blow. I'd like to talk something positive. Can I? Kevin McGonigal, named Rookie of the Month. Hit 371 in April. 7th Tiger to ever win the award. So good for him. Pistons extend J.B. Bickerstaff's contract in 2 years in Detroit. He's led the team to a 63.5% winning percentage and back-to-back playoff appearances. He and his team ready for the Cavs tonight at Little Caesars Arena, Game 1, Eastern Conference Finals, or Eastern Conference Semifinals, rather. 2 teams split 4 games this year. Meanwhile, Orlando has fired their head coach, Jamal Mosley. Tenure in Orlando lasted 5 seasons, 3 consecutive playoff runs, 2023, 2024, 2023 through 2026, because it's really 23 through 25-26. Orlando, of course, been knocked out of the first round every single time. Now, I saw that news and I thought to myself, here's a guy who gets his team into the playoffs despite had a lot of injuries this year, and he was still able to get his team into the postseason. And yet in the postseason, he blew a 3-1 lead. Now, the last 2 games without Franz Wagner, one of his better players. It's probably his second best player, right, to Paolo Banchero. How do you look at it? Do you look at a guy that did a hell of a job getting his team into the playoffs? Or do you look at it as a guy who blew the playoff lead 3-1? Just the 15th time that's ever happened. Either way, he's looking for work. NBA, Knicks blow out the Sixers 137-98. Jalen Brunson led everybody with 35. New York becomes the first team in NBA playoff history to do something amazing and an amazing turn of events in San Antonio. We'll get to all that coming up here on a Tullymore Tuesday. This is X's and Bros throughout the state of Michigan. Glad you're with us. 8:35, by the way, Dominic Shine. The difference between the NHL, the AHL, Grand Rapids Griffins with the playoffs. A lot to get to here on a busy Tuesday morning. Glad you're with us.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC Warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC Warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptation. For Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office and etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops together again.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Huge Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
obviously, if you go watch my outings, there's been some abnormal kind of arm shake stuff. So, been dealing with some stuff, but I thought it was progressing and getting better. Yesterday, I had something that kind of was different than what I've been dealing with, and which led to kind of having some conversations with the training staff and AJ, trying to figure out what's going on. Wasn't very comfortable pitching today. So I'm ultimately led to kind of getting the scan and seeing what's going on. Then, making the decision after that to obviously proceed and get surgery kind of as soon as possible. So that way I can be back as soon as possible.
Well, at a press conference yesterday, talking about his injury. That's our Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question. We'll get to that as well. And the injury is going to sideline him indefinitely right now. And that's all you can really say. Tigers can't give you a timetable, and we can't give you a timetable, and there's no reason to speculate on it. But you can look at things as if it could be a worst case scenario, and it could be one of those situations where you worry a lot, and rightfully so, about where this goes, and quite honestly, where this goes for him long term. Think about it. I mean, he's a free agent at the end of the year. People in Detroit have wanted him. People wanted to spend $400 million. I was seen as a pariah because I didn't want that. I said I would never do that. I wouldn't give a pitcher $400 million. I'm not giving a guy who pitches for me every fifth day. Now, is he great? Absolutely, he's great. He's the best at what he does. Him and Paul Skeens are the best at what they do. But if I'm going to give $400 million to a player, and that's a lot to swallow, by the way, but if I'm going to do that, I'm doing it for an everyday guy. I'm doing it for a guy who's going to be in the lineup, can help me defensively and offensively. A guy who's going to get me 600 plus plate appearances. I'm going to do it for a guy who's going to help my pitcher behind him. I'm not doing it for a guy who's going to be out there every fifth day and doesn't go longer than 7 innings. Okay? People can say that's mean. People can say that's short-sighted. People can say whatever they want. I mean, that's just my philosophy. It doesn't mean I'm right. It's just not something I would do. And I don't bring this up because he just got injured. I bring this up because I've said this on a regular basis. Do I want him on my team? You damn right I do. Would I start him in every single stressful situation? Absolutely. But you have to have some type of discipline not to spend that kind of money. But think about it for a minute. Let's say worst case scenario, Andy. Worst case is that he's out 3 months. Okay. So you're talking about the rest of May, June, and July. Trade deadline is come and gone. For a guy who pitched very little in the World Baseball Classic, for a guy who last year in Game 7 against Seattle left after 99 pitches, a team of a lot of agents have already said no to some long-term deals. Do you think he's coming back in August?
I can't say that I think this makes you mean coming back this season to pitch for them again?
Yeah.
If
it's 3 months.
Yeah. That's probably depends a little bit where the Tigers are at that point, I would imagine. Maybe in his mind at least, but yeah, it's a good question. I guess I don't know if he would come back and pitch at that point or not.
Well, would you wager he would or would not? Because I would wager he would not, based on the reason. I mean, I gave you all that information for a reason. What they've said, what they've done, all of that. Come on.
Just based on the way that they went about his stuff so far is what you're kind of saying? Like with the fact that and that makes sense to me. I do get that part of it. I mean, if they're not in it and he's not ramped back up to full speed and they don't feel right, I mean, he's got a lot of reasons why either way, because someone's still probably going to pay for him. I mean, going into next year.
Not that kind of money.
Not what he was going to make. If he's his the whole season, I think he's definitely on the cheaper end of what he was going to make. But yeah,
I want you to think about this for a minute. Think about it from an investor. You're an investor. That's what it is. That's what owners are. They're investing in talent. They're investing in baseball players. There's a guy who had Tommy John surgery while at Seattle University. Okay. So he missed the 2017 season. He had to repair a flexor tendon in his left forearm in August of 2022. That sidelined him for 11 months. Since he's returned from that rehab, which was July 2023, he has been a dominant pitcher. No question. He's 41-15. He's got a under 2.5 ERA. He's thrown 511 innings. Okay. This will be the third surgery on his throwing arm. Tommy John, then the flexor, and now the bone chips, which from all indications are, I don't want to say it's super common, but it's not uncommon for this to happen. It's happened to a lot of different pitchers. Edwin Diaz.
I was going to say, I believe Diaz is dealing with the same injury. If I'm correct.
He is. He's dealing with the same injury. It's probably highlighted for us a little bit more because of what? The other injuries with the Tigers. But let's put it in perspective. And I saw a lot of people saying, if you're going to have a surgery, this is the one to have. Okay. Just for clarifications, according to the Colorado University School of Medicine, loose bodies are small pieces of bone or cartilage that have broken off and are floating around free in the joint. All right. So that's got to be cumbersome, uncomfortable, and at times very painful. If you look at players like I mentioned, Edwin Diaz, they say he's going to return in 2 to 3 months. Okay. He had that procedure done last month, I think. Spencer Schwellenbach, Hunter Green, those guys are dealing with it. Green's recovery are reported 3 to 4 months. If you recall a year ago, the New York Yankees, Carlos Rodon had surgery to remove bone chips. That was after the 2025 season. But it also, it required shaving down the bone spur. So that cost him 6 months. So that was a problem. Other pitchers in the past, Yu Darvish has had it. Carlos Carrasco has had it. Steven Strasburg has had it. I bring these names up only to tell you they have come back from this. I'm not trying to be, oh, woe is me guy. Those guys have come back from it. But there's generally a 2 to 3 month window that requires it. Generally. Doesn't mean that he can't, Scooby can't be different. He can be unique. He can come back earlier. Let's hope for that. But in the meantime, what are you dealing with? You're dealing with a lot of struggles, okay? You are dealing with Casey Mize injury, Justin Verlander injury, hip, okay? Jackson Jobe injury. He's going to be out until at least late in the summer. Troy Melton threw a game the other day, but he's hurt. Reese Olson, who knows? Can never bank on him. Will Vest is out. Think of that. That is what would have been your starting rotation. In a perfect world, if anybody had been healthy, your rotation would have been Scooble, Framber Valdez, Mize, Jobe, Verlander, Melton, and, probably Jack Flaherty. And you're going, oh, it's 7 starters. Yeah, no kidding. As Dylan Dingler said yesterday, look, you're going to have to go through a lot of different starters. A.J. Hinch said that. You're going to have to go through a lot of different starters. I said a minimum of 11 before the season began. It's going to be more than that. We got to take a quick time out. This hour has been brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth. Dr. Jeffrey Pierce joins us, 7:35, 8:35, Dominic Shine, as we roll on a Tullymore Tuesday here on X's and Bros. Stay with.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Saturday night, May 23rd.
Carry on my wayward son.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com.
Just in the wind.
Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we won yesterday with the group that we had yesterday 7-1 and won a series, and we've won before with multiple people, doing different things. And, obviously anytime we watch this with Parker, you watch it, Z-Mac and Javi and Will Vest. I mean, I can name 14 guys that are on the injured list right now. And so a team takes that body blow or that uppercut or that punch, and it hits you for a minute, and then you got to get back to competing.
Look, he's right. And that's AJ Hinch. When the news broke about Tarek Skubal, it's not like they're canceling the season, is what he said. No one's feeling sorry for. It's one of the things he does better than anybody else I've been around. He takes that situation, puts it off to the side, and focuses on the next situation. We don't have that guy. What's the point of talking about him? It doesn't make any sense. We lost that game. It doesn't make any sense to keep talking about it. Win with the guys you have.
Yeah,
AJ Hinch is as good as anybody I've ever been around in that situation.
I couldn't agree with that more. I feel like you could give that guy anybody on a roster, and he feels like he could go out and win, sweep a series, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just based off his demeanor.
The thing that has always bothered me about people's perception of him is that, they needed to cheat in order to win a World Series and stuff like that, which is really too bad because he really didn't need to. I mean, he's a really smart manager. He's a brilliant manager. I'm not saying he's the best of all time. I'm just telling you he's great at what he does, manages people the right way. The thing that he does perhaps better than anybody, coaches or managers I've ever been around, is that he's able to move on quickly from something that might be disappointing. Now, he might be driving home in his Land Rover going, oh my God, I can't believe I've lost Skubal. I can't believe I'm without Mize. How am I going to do this? He's not dwelling on the negative. He is dwelling on how to get past the negative. He's really good about that. Now, he can talk about, we've done this before. We won this game 7-1 with these same guys. Yeah, but here's the difference. The difference is that team every single time knows, well, tomorrow we've got Skubal. I don't care what team you are, at what level, or in what sport. When you lose the best player at what he does, it affects you. It may not affect you right away, but eventually it's going to affect you somehow, some way. JB Bickerstaff was able to get through without Cade Cunningham, without Jalen Duren, right? But when you get to this stage, you ain't beating Orlando without Cade Cunningham. As good as Tobias Harris was, as good as Duren was in Game 7 only, as good as Asar Thompson was. Probably Detroit's second best player in the entire series. As good as Danish Jenkins was in Game 7 alone. You're not beating the Magic without Cade Cunningham. It's going to be really hard for this team to win without Tarek Skubal. Next year, if you don't have him, you can plan for others to do that. When you lose your best pitcher, your third best pitcher, your fourth best pitcher, your fifth best pitcher, and your sixth best pitcher, it virtually becomes almost impossible. You lose Skubal, you lose number one. You lose Mize, number 3. You lose Melton, Job, and Olsen. All among the best that you have. It's not, Framber Valdez is still around. That's good. Cater Montero. How confident are you? I'm sure Tiger fans are somewhat confident, but on a short, small sample size, right? Jack Flaherty, you have not been impressed with him. Don't tell me you have. That's a lie. Ty Madden, it's one start. All right. It's his second major league start, I believe. So let's be careful there. Come on. It's okay to say, I'm a little nervous. There's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. Doesn't mean that they're out of it, which comes back to our Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question that we'll get to here in a minute. Then you look at their bullpen, and it's only Will Vest. Kenley Jansen's been a little nicked up a little bit. You have Drew Anderson, Brendan Hanafy, Tyler Holton, Brant Herter, Birch Smith, Emmanuel DeJesus, who's already been sent down once, Ricky Vanasco, who you've released a couple of times, and Kyle Finnegan. There's your bullpen. That's a lot different than before. All right. Tigers have 200 and their payroll is $235 million. There's roughly 90 million on the injured list. And that doesn't include a day-to-day situation with Gleyber Torres, a day-to-day situation with Kenley Jansen. RotoWire said the Tigers are the most injured team in baseball, and that was before the Tarek Skubal news. All right? Now, the trouble, if you look at it, the trouble for Skubal really was against Atlanta. He was out there in the 7th inning. He was facing Matt Olson. His team was up 3-2. He had just thrown a 2-1 pitch. Olson swung and missed to make it 2-2. And immediately, I'm sure you recall this, Skubal started wiggling his left arm. Dylan Dingler takes a beeline right towards him to talk about it. The trainer runs as quickly as she can with AJ Hinch to see him and find out what's going on. He was left in the game. Now, maybe the bone chips were already in there. The loose bodies, were already in there. I don't know. But he was allowed to stay in the game. He talked himself to stay in the game. For all of those of you, including yours truly, who complained that he wanted out of the game against Seattle, wanted out of the game the year before against Cleveland, he wanted in the game against Atlanta. Tells you something about him, doesn't it? Yes. He's a competitor.
I would say so, for sure.
Yeah. And he had been at, 79, 80 pitches at that point, I think, Andy.
Yeah, so a little different, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
a little different, and it's a little different. It's a regular season game, of
say
course.
the way that I look at it, it shouldn't have been that much different at the point in the season he was pitching at late in the year last year. But
and what you saw online is people just, I can't believe you allowed him to stay in there. You know, usually it's an organization that takes a lot of precautions. So I was a little surprised too. But he talked himself into staying in the game. We'll talk with Dr. Jeffrey Pierce at 7:35 about all this.
So I'd be interested to know if he would think anything if that would make a huge difference or not. Like you said, maybe it was already there. Maybe it would affect him more. That's something I'm not qualified to talk about. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not either. I find it hard to believe you'd be able to pitch if your arm was in that much pain, because Kurt Schilling had mentioned that it's painful. You just couldn't get through it. Let me finish with that Knicks story, and then we'll move on. I had mentioned New York made some history. They're the first team in NBA playoff history to win 3 straight playoff games by 25 points or more. So they did that the last 2 games against Atlanta. Then they do it against the Sixers last night. Timberwolves stole game 1 from San Antonio. Did you see what Victor Wembanyama did? He had a triple-double. He had 12 blocks, Andy.
That's
insane.
Those are basketball numbers that you might hear for a team total.
For a team total, you're right. You're right. And this dude does it by himself. Now, was he good offensively? No, he had 11 points on 5 of 17 shooting. Was 0 of 8 from 3, but he had 15 boards and 12 blocks. How many blocks do you think his team had overall?
15?
Close, 14. Julius Randle had 21 and 10, leading 6 Minnesota players in double digits. NHL. I turned this game off, so I was wrong. Flyers scored twice in the first 10 minutes. Carolina scored 1 in the first. It was a 2-1 game into the third. I was watching midway through. I said, okay, I mean, Philly looks like Carolina was out shooting them, but Philly looks like they've got it together. Carolina scores midway through the third and then wins in overtime. With 1 minute and 6 left in overtime, Taylor Hall scored the game winner. They're up 2-0. And Vegas beats Anaheim 3-1. All right. There's your sports update. Here's your Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question. And Andy's tweeted it out there. I've already retweeted as well. What does Skubal's injury mean to the Tigers? They can't make the playoffs. They won't finish 500. He'll likely leave via free agency, or they will rally and still make the postseason. There's your Mitch Lanswealth poll question. It's been retweeted as well. Vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. We'll give the results in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. The Tigers, with the loss last night, Boston now, as bad as they are this year, and they're a hot mess at 14 up and 21 down. A team that is, they're not as bad as Baltimore in run differential, but they're a minus 18 in run scoring. Boston is now, since 2025, an MLB best 90.5% winning percentage when leading after the 8th inning. They are 84-4.
That's quite the stat.
I mean, it's a hell of a stat.
For having the record they have overall. And I mean, they obviously had some success last year, but yeah, that's pretty crazy to have that much success past the 8th inning.
Here's the frustration I think a lot of Tigers fans have. Look, we all look for consistency, don't we? But I guarantee you, Tigers fans were pissed if you didn't watch the game, and because maybe you lost power because of the winds and the nasty weather last night in Metro Detroit, especially. Spencer Torkelson is that lightning rod. No pun intended, because there was a lot of lightning in the area last night too. But he is that lightning rod. Previous 11 games, before last night, he had hit 293, slugged to 805, hit 6 home runs, best in the major leagues, scored 8 times, drove in 8, had a walk percentage of 11%, a punch-out percentage of 26%, and a Fangraphs WAR of 0.6. Okay, it's just over an 11-game stretch. It's pretty good for an 11-game stretch. Kevin McGonigal on the year is a 2.1. So for you to do it over an 11-game stretch and be a 0.6, you extend that, suddenly, at 30-plus games, you're looking at a 2 WAR, which is a really good season. Not a great season, okay? It's not Aaron Judge from a year ago or the year before, but it's a really good season. Last night, he goes 0 for 4 with 3 punch-outs. And that's what I mean about consistency. You're looking for the consistency. Folks, especially in baseball, it is super, super hard, okay? I mean, he was having a weighted runs created plus of 122 over that 11-game stretch, which was the best in his career. And look at what happens. So therein lies I get it. Therein lies a lot of the frustration people have with that. It's just not going to change. You're going to, when we come back, we're going to hear from a national writer about the Tarek Skubal situation. It's an interesting take. I'm sure it's something that you and your friends have already talked about, and you have every right to. It's about trade value. It's about free agency. It's about a lot of different things. Okay. But, as I mentioned before, it's kind of why I told anyone who would listen, I just wouldn't sign him long term. I mean, think about it for a minute. He's going to be 30 years old next year. He'll have pitched, 3 fully healthy seasons in his career. When you have multiple elbow injuries, that's a deep concern. In all likelihood, he's not getting that mega deal. I suppose this is a twisted way of looking at things. This might help the Tigers. It might. It's a former talk show host in Detroit who now lives in a different market who said, give him a short-term deal right now. He loves Detroit. He loves Detroit. He loves the Tigers. He wants to be there. I hate to tell you this, man. You know what athletes really love? Not all of them. I'm just painting with a broad brush here. They love the big contract. They want the guaranteed deal. They want the most money they can get. And I can't necessarily blame them. I can't say that I wouldn't. Okay? I mean, it's all about the money. Now, does he want to win a championship? Absolutely. I don't doubt that one bit. Let's not look at it like it's a negative when a guy wants to win or when a guy wants to make as much money as he can. Nobody ever said that about Shohei Ohtani because we were enamored with what he can do on the mound and at the plate. And I'm enamored with it too. It's one of the greatest players we've ever seen. It's amazing. So but nobody said a damn thing about that because I don't know if people felt like he was worth it or frustrated in Los Angeles with the Angels and couldn't make it to the playoffs and all these other things. Tarek Skubal, why should we hold it against him if he wants to make as much money? Just because he's got a team that can't afford to give it to him? I don't know. But I don't know if he's getting that mega deal. And then you've got people out there suggesting, well, if I'm the Tigers, I make him an offer right now, give him a 2-year contract. the same people who are pissed that Brad Holmes is drafting a guy who's got a knee injury in college. You're going to do that to a guy who's got 3 elbow injuries, 3 elbow surgeries? Be careful. Don't get enamored with putting on a Red Wing sweater, throwing, Nerf balls at halftime of a Michigan State game at Little Caesars Arena, sitting courtside and chatting it up with Cade Cunningham and swapping jerseys. Don't get caught up in that. I know it's hard not to because he's your guy. You drafted him 9th round. You nurtured him through the minors. You see what he's blossomed into becoming the best pitcher in baseball. That's all great. I wish him well. I want him to get better. I want him to make his money. I do. I want all these athletes. I recognize what they go through. It doesn't mean that I want to pay the money. There's a big difference there. It sounds crass, but it's true. And it's hard for people to fathom because you know why? Here's what most people do. They think with their heart. They don't think with their head. If you were the general manager, you are the owner, and you're sitting in your office, you need to think at things logically. He's had 3 elbow surgeries. He's great when he's the best in the business when he's healthy. He's going to be 30 years old. How many years am I going to get out of him? You really think you're going 8 years deep? Come on. And before you go, well, I would do a 3-year deal worth, $200 million. Well, not sure the agent necessarily goes for that. So those are the things that I think about. I don't even know if he'd go on a short-term contract. And then on the other hand, if you're a Tigers fan, there might be a part of you that says, okay, I can use this to my advantage. If I want to keep him, you want to keep him here, you can do the short-term deal, which then begs the question, how much? But maybe that's putting the cart before that horse way too early. It's something that we've got to think about. First things first, get him healthy, get him back out there if possible. Jeffrey Pierce joins us bottom of the 7 o'clock hour, 7:35, to discuss Tarek Skubal's injury. When we come back, we get some of your texts taking place here on a busy Tullymore Tuesday. Pistons basketball tonight. We'll talk about that on the other side, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth on X's and BrO's.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
If you're the largest selling comedy recording artist in history, you might be a redneck. Jeff Foxworthy, Friday, June 12th, inside the Soaring Eagle Entertainment Hall.
Our parents can't text, and our children can't write.
Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office and online at etix.com. Laugh it up at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, Friday, June 12th with Jeff Foxworthy.
My father-in-law got his chest hair caught in his zipper.
SoaringEagleCasino.com.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
Okay, back with you here on this Tullymore Tuesday edition of X's and Bros. I want to get to the Pistons and the Cavs coming up for sure. Detroit defense will be tougher than Toronto's, one would expect, at least based on rankings, right? I mean, Toronto was a very good defensive team, but Pistons defense is better all season long. So we'll get to that coming up here on X's and Bros as well. Just a reminder that Dr. Jeffrey Pierce at the bottom of the hour to talk about Tarek Skubal's injury. That was a gut punch. It's a gut punch to everybody. Gut punch to everybody in the clubhouse, gut punch to fans, the concern, the speculation. It leads to a ton of things, right? That gets a little bit old, I'm sure, for many. But you're looking for things to try and settle your nerves. At least I was. Curt Schilling said this, and Curt Schilling should be in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the best big game pitchers of all time. He went through what the Skubal experience. So here's what he wrote. So many comments. First off, WBC, he was talking about the World Baseball Classic. Would you allow your pitcher to pitch? And he said, never. Would I allow my pitcher in my organization to do it? Zero upside. But as a player, I would have killed to do it. Second, so there's a difference. You know, he's looking at it from a pitcher standpoint and from an ownership standpoint. I get both sides to that. What's the upside? An individual gold medal? Probably not. You know, an everyday player playing in that is one thing. A pitcher pitching in it is different. Anyway, he says, second, max effort pitching. The hunt for a velocity is destroying the pitcher. The consistent thought of I've got it, those guys look at the gun. Guaranteed they look at the gun. When you've got the radar gun in your ballpark, pitchers are noticing. I'm not saying every single time they're throwing it and turning and looking to see, but at some point they are recognizing. iPads show it, in-stadium scoreboards show it, everything. Right? Broadcast show it. He writes, third, I had loose bodies taken out one time, and if done right and not a real bad situation, which we don't know, it's a very short recovery. If it's not a real bad situation. I gave you the other players where, unfortunately for them, it was a bad situation, whether it be Edwin Diaz, Schwellenbach, Strasburg, Rodon, names of that ilk. All right. He says, I was literally pitching 17 days after my procedure, and it was very non-invasive, and the loose bodies were removed without any internal riffraff being done. So I don't think riffraff is necessarily a medical term, but I'm just reading you the quote. So that can be good news. Let's hope for some positive stuff there. Okay. From Tarek Skubal and all the things that are going on there. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. Our text line is Sports Radio 21,000. Try to get to some text coming up here, having some technical difficulties with some things here with the phone at the time being. Okay. Meanwhile, we'll dive into some Pistons here. The Pistons open up against the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. They're going to need a few things to carry over. Tobias Harris, without question, has to stay as consistent as possible like he did in Series 1, all right? Because he was really good in Series 1. I know there's a lot of people who don't believe in him or didn't necessarily going in. Guy who averages, 14 points per game during the regular season in his long career, 15-year career. Postseason, needed to elevate. He did elevate. There's a lot of people who felt like Cade needed a Robin. I don't think Tobias Harris is that Robin. Okay. When people are talking about that, I think they're referring to guys like Devin Booker. Somebody said Kevin Durant, which scares the living hell out of me that somebody would suggest that. Like he would be a good fit for the Pistons. Just miserable everywhere he goes. No, thank you. Forget the name for a minute. Think about the player and the player right now. So no, thank you. But somebody's got to step forward. Tobias Harris was that guy in round 1. And then there were other players who did it in a game, maybe not, and then at different parts of the game, but couldn't consistently stay that type of player through all 7 games of the series. Duran might have been that in game 7. Thompson might have been that in game 5 and 6. 5 with the scoring, 6 with the defense for sure. Isaiah Stewart had 8 blocks in a game earlier in the series. Different players, but it was the consistent was Cade Cunningham and then Tobias Harris. In fact, players in NBA history with 225 plus points and 50 plus assists in a single playoff series. 225 points or more, 50 assists or more. Cade Cunningham, obviously round 1 against Orlando. Giannis Antetokounmpo in 2021. Luka Doncic in 2021. LeBron James twice in 2018. Jerry West in the NBA Finals in 1969, in which he was named NBA and Finals MVP, even though his team lost. And Oscar Robertson in 1963. There you go, in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's a select. You're talking about Robertson's a Hall of Famer. West is a Hall of Famer in 3 different categories. LeBron James is Hall of Famer. Luka Doncic, people would argue, is a Hall of Famer now. I think he has more to prove. I think we get a little hyperbolic in that regard. Giannis Antetokounmpo is probably a Hall of Famer, right? He's got the ring, so you get all that. So that's the Pistons are going to need a few things in that regard. They, as you know, and we've talked about this already, 2-2 against Cleveland during the regular season. How much does that matter? I don't know. Do you think Oklahoma City is going to sweep the Lakers? Because they did during the regular season. If you're going to take the importance of that. If you think Minnesota and San Antonio is a tough match, the Timberwolves won 2 out of the 3 meetings during the regular season. And they won game 1 last night. Andy, if you're watching that game last night, don't tell me you weren't thinking just a little bit about what I suggested before the playoffs began. The one team that checked all the boxes of what the majority of NBA Finals champions was the Minnesota Timberwolves. Remember?
Yeah, oh yeah. I told my friends about that. My a couple of them listen every day. My future brother-in-law does listen every day, and he put down a future in the Timberwolves just because of you. So that's if that happens, he owes you. If not, he didn't put that much down.
Well, if it happens, he doesn't owe me anything. Tell him it's okay.
For sure,
taking that chance. I wouldn't do that, but kudos to him. I think the Pistons win this series, but I think it's going to be a long series. The Cleveland shooting scares the hell out of me. Orlando can't shoot. Is that fair to say? You and I both watched Orlando put up some impressive numbers at times, but we also saw what certain guys do and how bad they were. Jalen Suggs was brutal. Paolo Banchero in certain games, even though he scored a lot of points, was awful in shooting, right? Look at what Wendell Carter did in a couple of games. That is not who Cleveland is. Like, Orlando pushed Detroit. Cade Cunningham even gave him a lot of credit. They made us take a look in the mirror, and we got better in the series. That's fine. The difference between these two teams is Detroit will be very physical defensively. Will Cleveland be able to handle that? That's a big question, because they survived that first round with Toronto, who was a top 5 defense during the regular season. They made it hard for Donovan Mitchell. They made it hard for James Harden. And those guys, even Kenny Atkinson, their head coach, said, we are going to have to be a strong team mentally and physically against the Pistons. His exact quote, we're going to have to be mentally and physically tough to beat this team. They've had a great year. They're the favorites. We go in there as underdogs, which is a challenge, but I think it's getting to be similar. It's going to be a similar series to Toronto, being able to handle their pressure, their rebounding, their force, their physicality. So hopefully this series prepared us for that. More specifically about what concerns me in this series against Cleveland and why I think it's going to be a long series. When we come back, Dr. Jeffrey Pierce at the bottom of the hour, 7:35 on the Tarek Skubal injury. Dominic Shine of the Grand Rapids Griffins and some time with the Red Wings this year joins us at 8:35.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Saturday night, May 23rd. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com. Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu. What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the huge show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Kevin, we were talking about him as maybe the pitcher who was going to get the
Okay, let me get you caught up. Dr. Jeffrey Pierce, bottom of the hour. 7:35 about the Skubal injury. Just before the break, we were talking about Pistons and Cavs. Here's the thing that concerns me. During the regular season, the Cavs, when healthy, for the most part, were averaging 120 points a game, 119 and a half. I rounded up. Fourth best during the regular in the league. During the regular season, they shot 48% from the floor. Pretty impressive, right? During the postseason, against Toronto, averaged 112, still shot 47%. To put that in perspective, Orlando shot under 40%. Now, you and I both can make the argument, well, I mean, they weren't playing Detroit's defense. No, Toronto's defense is pretty good. Okay? So we'll see what happens there. As I mentioned, the two teams split the 4 games regular season series. I'm not taking anything away from Detroit. That's not fair. I've never been that guy. Well, you beat them, but they didn't have this. No. You still have to win games. Maybe there's a part of people in Boston this morning that are saying, you know what? We didn't see Tarek Skubal last night. By the time August rolls around, you're not going to look back at your schedule and go, yeah, but see, we beat that Detroit team on May 4th. Happy Cinco de Mayo, by the way, on May 4th, and we beat them without Tarek Skubal. These things happen, okay, in sports. You and I were bitching about the Lions season. Were we taking into account Sam Laporta every single time? Be honest with yourself. Were you? No. Were you taking into account early in the season about Lee McNeil's injury? Did you make an excuse for Terry Arnold's injury? Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Taylor Decker. At some point, were you ever making that excuse? No, you were too busy, and me too, complaining that the Lions didn't win. The Lions couldn't overcome. The Lions weren't deep enough.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I feel like when you did look at it in the Lions season, you just kind of like, I feel like you just move on to the next game really easily. It feels like with this Tarek injury, just no one can move on right now. That's what it seemed like yesterday on social media. You know, it's just like they're doomed.
Agreed. Yeah. See, Andy, if your team wins when your team isn't at 100%, that's about depth. It's about guys stepping up. One of my favorite sayings, right? Stepping up to the plate. About your coach doing a really good job. When your team doesn't win, it's a big complaint that you don't have enough of those things. Nobody stepped up when they needed to. This team isn't built the right way because the roster's not deep enough. That's oftentimes what happens. Cleveland, in 2 of the games against Detroit, did not have Donovan Mitchell. Now, they won one game, 113-109, and they lost another game in overtime, 122-119. In the 2 games he did play, he scored 29 and 30. So just keep that in mind as you watch tonight. I think Detroit's the better team. I think Cleveland's deeper than Orlando. I think their bigs are better than Orlando's. I think their bigs are more athletic than Orlando's. I think they're a better shooting team than Orlando. Orlando, if you put the two teams together, you might argue, that Paolo Banchero was better than Donovan Mitchell. Remember before the series began against Orlando, what did you hear on social media and texts and phone calls and all that other stuff to various talk shows? Orlando has 4 of the best 6 players in the series. They're the better team, especially when it was down 3-1. Oh my God, the people talking about that stuff, it was constant, right? I ask you this, when you look at these two teams, Andy, Cleveland and the Pistons, who's got the better roster?
I think it's a tough question for me. I feel like it's somewhere in the middle, but I like a lot of what Cleveland brings to the table, I think, on a nightly basis. And right now, I think from a scoring standpoint, maybe you could argue they have the better roster. I think the Pistons are the best player on the floor.
Without question.
I think maybe altogether, I think Cleveland is the better roster.
I would say Detroit has the best player. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Unless they play the Spurs or the Oklahoma City Thunder, I would say Detroit has the best player on the floor no matter who they play. Cade Cunningham's better than anybody on the Knicks. Doesn't mean Detroit's a better team than the Knicks. I'm just bringing it up. And I think he's better than anybody on the Sixers.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Okay. I don't think a lot of people would argue, really.
Okay. So if you rank them, he was number 1 against Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell 2?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Then who? Harden? Harris? Thompson? Allen? Mobley?
Yeah, it's more for debate, I guess, at that point. Especially with where really James Harden's at in his career, but yeah.
It might be what you want, what you need, right? An excess song, what you need. Asar Thompson, defensively, without question. You got to score the ball too. That's the hard part. Thompson, Harden. Harden, really great scorer. Thompson, great defender. Anyway, there's reason to pause for a moment against Cleveland. Let me get to some text real quick, and then Dr. Pierce is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Shep, in fairness, this is from Freddie. Everyone raved about Vanesco and AAA striking everyone out, and should be able to do that here. Comes in and gives up a bomb. Well, he was really good the day before. Maybe he shouldn't be pitching back-to-back games. I don't know. Shep, who's more important to their team? This is a really good question. Asar Thompson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Kevin McGonigal? Oh. Wow. That's a really good question.
I would lean Kevin McGonigal just based off the Tigers' offense.
I was just saying the same thing. Yeah. I was just about to say the same thing. I mean, is it wrong for this dude? Is 8th in the league in hits with 41. He's among the best in on-base percentage and batting average. He's their best player right now, and he's a rookie. I'm just saying right now. Asar Thompson isn't the Pistons' best player. It's Cade Cunningham. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Football's hard because you're only playing one side of the ball. Basketball, you're playing both, obviously, and baseball, you're playing both. But football is the only sport where you strictly have offensive players and defensive players, unless it's a guy like Deion Sanders, for example. Deion Sanders could do both. Charles Woodson could do both. So I'd say Kevin McGonigal. Shep, curious to see how Scott Harris does now without Alavila's gift to him. The only reason why he has made the playoffs 2 straight years and able to go on national shows being smug. I said for years, leak out an offer that benefits the team to make them look good and trade him. That's regarding Skubal. And I think the reference there is, look, he was winning. Look, in fairness to Scott Harris, he has added some important pieces. I give him a lot of credit for getting the Framber Valdez done. I give him a lot of credit for the drafting of Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal and some of the others. But I think his reference, I've said this for a long time, people don't want to hear it because they've made up their mind about a certain individual, and that's fine. I don't defend Alavila that he should still be here as a general manager. What I defend him in is that he doesn't get enough credit. Dylan Dingler was his draft pick. Tarek Skubal was his draft pick. Casey Mize was his draft pick. Spencer Torkelson was his draft pick. Javier Baez was his signing. I'm taking the good with the bad. Riley Green was his draft pick. Parker Meadows was his draft pick. Kerry Carpenter was his draft pick. He brought Will Vest back over. Those are key guys to their success over the last 2 years. Am I wrong? But no. Not everyone looks at him because they remember some of the bad things rather than a lot of the good things. Specifically 2 trades, Verlander and J.D. Martinez. When we come back, Dr. Jeffrey Pierce joins us to talk about the Skubal injury. Calm your nerves. We hope after this. Brought to you by Meyer.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptation. 4 Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office at etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops, together again.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com.
Okay, 35 after the hour here on this Tullymore Tuesday. We're brought to you this hour by Meijer. Glad you're with us on X's and Bros throughout the great state of Michigan, wherever it is you may be listening, whether it's in Cadillac, in Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Holland, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Traverse City, Lansing, or watching us stream live on YouTube, X, or Facebook. We appreciate the time here on this Tuesday. The big news, of course, Tarek Skubel's injury and the upcoming surgery. Dr. Jeffrey Pierce is a friend of mine, and he is all too familiar with what professional athletes have to go through and how they have to be able to handle these types of situations. He is the founder of the Michigan Sports and Spine Center in Metro Detroit, specializes in spine and joint injuries, and he joins us here on X's and Bros. Doc, we appreciate it as always. What can you tell our audience about what these loose bodies of bone chips, I guess, in Tarek Skubel's left elbow means?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It broke yesterday. My son actually informed me what was going on, but when we just break it down to loose bodies, it could be as simple as you get little fragments of the bone, in this case in the elbow, which are even smaller fragments, but because it's a smaller joint, we see this typically more in knees. But it could be as simple as that fragment irritating both the joint and the ligaments around it, which just makes a player like Skubel more sensitive. So when they identify it, typically on an X-ray and an MRI, that's the irritant and it's reproducible, you make small incisions and basically it could be as simple as plucking it out. Now, the other thing is if it gets into like the ligament or embedded into the structure of it, or it's a smoothing out that needs to be done because of a bone spur, because of so much activity on that elbow, it could be a little bit more involved. But overall, I mean, you're looking at a simple procedure. I know everybody's going crazy. Somebody said, 3 months being out, typical. I don't see that. I don't see that time frame being happening.
Why is that? What makes you not believe that time frame?
Because if it is a simple bone spur like they're making it, or loose body, which they keep saying, hopefully they're saying it correctly. It's a loose body. You go in there, you pluck it out, you clean up the tissue around it. Like that I love to talk about the secret sauce. You put a little secret sauce in the healing, and you recover. I think. I just think I saw that he's on the 15-day disabled list.
Right.
So I think it was updated from the 3 months. So to me, that's being very proactive, cautious. Let's go in, let's take care of it this time of the season. Let's recover, rehab, and be ready for a run for the playoffs. I mean, we're early in the season. Things like this, I'd rather it be seen now, identified now, so we can get through the season, get to the place where we need to be, hopefully running for playoffs and World Series, and having a 100% Tarek Skubel to be playing.
Yeah, fair enough. Dr. Jeffrey Pierce, the founder of the Michigan Sports and Spine Center, joining us here on X's and Bros throughout the state of Michigan, talking about the Tarek Skubel injury. Now, it does vary, though, right? I mean, Edwin Diaz out 2 to 3 months as a closer, and for the Dodgers. Carlos Rodon missed 6 months with something similar, and yet Curt Schilling has tweeted out that he missed 17 days, and that was it. How do you have such a diverse change from one case to another in this situation?
So it's kind of like what I was saying. It depends if it's a true loose body, I mean it's floating in the joint or near the joint. So when you throw, it's like an irritant. It can be as bad as falling into the joint and you get locking and you have to do silly movements. Like, some of your listeners are probably out there. They're labor workers, things like that, where they're all of a sudden they'll have a movement and the joint will lock up or become so painful you can't move it. That doesn't look like it's the case. Those are the guys that are out there 6 months, or the guys are 3 to 4 months. The guys where the bone is built into the ligament. You can get calcifications into the ligament, especially on this. It's little bone fragments that form, bone spurs that irritate the ligament. Those are more involved. We don't technically call that a loose body. Those are bone spurs within the system. So when you're saying a free floating loose body, it's usually something you should be able to go in there and, again, pluck out, clean that joint up, smooth out the bone, cut down on the inflammation, and, again, recover and rehab. And I think that's more of the situation here, the way it's being described.
Doc,
so that's what we're hopeful. Yep.
Doc, this will be the third elbow surgery for Tarek Skubal. Okay, he's had Tommy John, he had the flexor elbow surgery, and now this. How concerning is that? If you're, as a physician, how concerning is that? The amount of stress that takes on a surgery on one area of somebody's body.
So obviously, we never love that. You know, your first risk factor is a previous injury. So now you're talking about 3 different types of things. So he had the major Tommy Johns, which was the major surgery. Everything else has been more minor. This is definitely a minor surgery. If it's as simple as plucking it out, I want to say it's just a small incision. You're going in there, taking it out. So it's not really a full surgery. It's almost like people talk about their back. Oh, I had 3 back surgeries. Well, you know, the first one was the major one. He had to do a little bit of a cleanup and then remove hardware. So they call it 3, but it's really an accumulation of 1. So with this, it's more of an irritant. It's not a major surgery, this one. So let's call it, you know, Tommy John for sure was a major one. The flexor tendon was an irritation that they went in and cleaned up. And this is definitely a go in and clean up situation. So it's not as extreme as 3 major surgeries. So, you know me, I always try to be a glass half full. Yeah. I think there's more of a learning curve. This is like when we talked about oh my God, the Lions player that's refusing to have his knee cleaned up. This is like maintenance. You got to go and clean up that area. If you don't clean up and smooth out certain joints, it becomes even worse down the road. So could this be a saving grace to preserve Skubal? I think I'm going that direction. I want to split this into a positive where we're being proactive, cautious. We're going into that joint that definitely has a lot of miles on it and keeping it clean. As we age, this is what they call arthritis or osteoarthritis or deterioration of the ligaments because of bone spurs. When you do things like this and you smooth that system out, then it's actually a proactive thing and a prevention thing. So I'll be happy to go here today to say we're being proactive and preventative, that we could maintain an extra year or 2. You know, I worked with Tim Duncan back in the day. Same thing with his knees. You know, he thought his knees were out. We put a little, we can say it now. He had platelet-rich plasma, smoothed out the areas, and it gave him a couple more years to his career because of it. So this, we can flip this to be a proactive thing, and it's obviously we got to wait and see, but this could be a very proactive to smooth that joint out, giving us an excuse where other players are just like, rolling as hard as they can. They get that arthritis, they get that changes of the ligaments, and they wear out. So, you know me, I'm trying to always flip the positive. So I think
I love that. Yeah,
positive.
I love that about you. You're keeping people, let's not panic yet. Let's wait to see how this process continues. On the other hand, could this be a reoccurring theme? Is this something that will require sometimes more maintenance of kind of cleaning this stuff out, do you think?
It could. That's hard to predict. I mean, he could have a moment, a trauma. I talk about hockey players have this more often because of the constant trauma and impact. With this, it's more of a throwing overuse thing. It's not like he, ran into the wall or something like that. So I don't want to say it could be routine. I think with this is a moment in his career where it could be the positive that it's moving forward. I mean, as far as being the surgeon in there, I think, like it said, today's news as opposed to yesterday's news is that it is a simple procedure, that it hasn't been set time and place, or it hasn't been announced to the media. So you're looking at, they're not rushing into it. They're taking their time. I think it's a cautious time frame. I think everybody's just being calm and watching the media freak out about it.
Okay,
so
well,
I think
that's well said. That's very well said. It's Dr. Jeffrey Pierce joining us here on X's and Bros. 3 terms on the Governor's Council of Physical Fitness, specializing in spine and joint ligaments and injuries. Founder of the Michigan Sports and Spine Center, in Mentor, Detroit. I got a few things I want to get to, so I'm kind of hurrying through because I only got like 5 minutes.
No problem.
Casey Mize, abductor strain. What is that, and what is the diagnosis in a situation like that usually in these cases?
adduct, we're talking about his legs, right? So it's the muscle. When we say adduct, so the thing is, there's abduction, which is away. Adduction brings the muscle inward. So you're talking about the inward muscle that pulls his leg in. And what happens is that a guy like this, he's so sensitive as far as being able to push off, land, and it's a mechanical music, right? So when a pitcher pitches and he's such in flow, it's like, oh, I'm bringing this up. I just came up with that mechanical music. I like it.
I
hope you do.
Yeah.
So it's like a gazelle. They have to move in certain rhythm to get full power or full control of their pitches. So when something's out, like a large muscle like that, you're losing your rotation. You're putting different pressures on the ankle, the knee, the hip when you're out. This is sometimes just a simple strain of the muscle, and that's what they're calling it. Again, being proactive and cautious to a pitcher who's more sensitive to their body mechanics. Okay. And when you get that, you've got to calm it down because it is a powerful muscle. It's not like your glutes or your hamstring, but still an important muscle to the rotational movements of the body. And that's really what you need to worry about. I think, again, Tigers are being cautious, a little unfortunate. You need to look at, what his warm-up was. Those things typically, we want to say, could be prevented, but not hard to heal once it happens. Like we've seen a lot of hamstring injuries. It's just unusual to me how many hamstring injuries we're starting to see. Yeah. This with an adductor strain is another thing that should be proactive. Again, we'll start saying it on your show, but the secret sauce with a lot of elements of today's biological medicine should be helpful in recovering of these things, besides the great training staff that all the Detroit teams have.
Okay, so Justin Verlander with a left hip inflammation, he's getting frustrated. Are you surprised it's taken him as long as it has to try and get back onto the mound?
I am, because remember, we did talk about this when it first happened, and I said this is just something that we need to settle down early. I think, everybody's picking on the age. I can't argue that this is probably an age recovery thing, that you're not recovering, and this is a message for all your listeners. When you're in 20s, you pop back. 30s, you hope to pop back. 40s, you got to settle down and wait for it to pop back. So this is what we're seeing in Verlander, the frustration of this competition. But again, I think Verlander's bigger purpose for us is to teach these young kids that competitive edge, what it is to win, what it is to lose and fight back, what it is to have a bad game and turn it off and get back out there. I think his mental capacity in the locker room is more important than his pitching skills. But as far as his frustration, look, you and I we've talked about this, where we're a little bit older, we're getting out of bed a little bit softer. Your body, and not to get into the peptide stuff if you want to, but
I was going to go there, but I'm running out of time. It's funny because I just saw on the news a doctor being interviewed about peptides, and I thought, there's Dr. Jeffrey Pierce. He should be doing this on TV and telling people about it. I only got a couple of minutes, but can you, I know this is hard because you're a deep dive guy because you know this so well, but can you explain to our audience what peptides is and how people can benefit from it within a couple of minutes?
Yeah, I mean, you taught me how to simplify it a little bit more. Understanding a peptide, people are funny because I just had a discussion. The GLP-1s are peptides. Everything is peptide driven. Insulin back in the day was the first amino acid peptide. So they've been around for years. The weight loss peptides have put popularity to it. Obviously, I'm more in tune to musculoskeletal, muscle building, growth hormone. Basically, you can look at peptides as a signaling device, amino acids that are put together to benefit into your body of an already, it's called a signaling system. So when you injure yourself, there's signals that go out to go heal it. The best example is if you get a scar or you get cut, what happens? How do you form that scar? How do you form the healing? There's so much going on inside your body that we're just starting to uncap that it's ridiculous. But the best healing mechanism is your body. So why I like peptides is because it's a natural way of healing. We're trying to mimic the natural way of healing of your body. We do damage to the outside of our body. That's the only thing we see. We don't see the damage that we do when you're drinking, when you're overpowering your body, when you're working out too hard, when you're running a marathon. There's a lot of internal signaling going on, healing your liver, your kidneys, your heart, musculature. That's what the peptides are trying to do. They're synthetic peptides that you do injections, and there's different varieties. The thing is, hopefully you want me to do this. There's a warning out there. I really don't want to see 13 to 25-year-olds doing it because they're going to ruin their natural ability that the body has to train to self-heal. When you hit the 30s and 40s for sure, your body is losing that typical recovery system. And what we're doing with the synthetic amino acids, which we're calling peptides, was a way to signal and reboot some of these internal mechanisms and enhance or put battery packs on our own cells to start causing the healing. So that's really what we want to do.
It is
so
fascinating.
It really is. It's really three categories. So it's the weight loss category. It's the cognition, which is also like brain health, the fogginess, the clarity, and then there's the musculoskeletal. So I'm trying to break it down into those three categories is what we're trying to understand.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And you're so well equipped to talk about it. Perhaps we can have you on another time to talk about it. That time flew by for us. I really appreciate
Sorry about that.
No. You were fantastic. I think it's something people need to know more about. We just ran out of time. Your information on Tarek Skubal and Mize and JV was fantastic. Thanks for joining us here this morning. Have a great rest of your week, Doc. We appreciate it. We'll have you on again.
All right, great. Take care. Thank you for having me.
You bet. That's Dr. Jeffrey Pierce, the founder of the Michigan Sports and Spine Center, helping us understand a little bit and maybe not panic as much about the Tarek Skubal situation. 8:35, about a little less than an hour from now, we'll have Dominic Shine on here from the Grand Rapids Griffins as they continue their playoff push here on X's and Bros, brought to you by Meyer.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Saturday night, May 23rd. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com. Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Kevin, we were talking about him as maybe the pitcher who was going to get the biggest contract for a pitcher in Major League. Kevin, let's start with the Tigers. And they've got right now virtually an entire rotation on the injured list. It's not
Okay, final hour of our program. Thanks for being with us on this Tullymore Tuesday. We are brought to you this hour by our friends at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Bottom of the hour, Dominic Shine, as Grand Rapids continues to make their playoff push. It's a really cool story. He will join us as a guy who's been around the AHL for, 10 years now? 10 years, I believe, but had a stint in the NHL. We'll ask him about the difference between the two. We'll ask him about the confidence that you can gain, and sometimes you can lose. The stick-to-itiveness. It's a challenging thing in sports. Staying with something when you know you're good enough, but needing the opportunity and then making the most of your opportunities. Well, Dominic Shine will join us at the bottom of the hour. If you missed it overnight, the Tigers lost to the Red Sox 5-4. Detroit was up 2-0. They had scored 2 runs on, I believe, just 1 hit. They ended up only with 3 hits on the night. Dylan Dingler had a 2-run double. Detroit allowing all 5 Boston runs in the 7th inning. Game 2 is tonight, Framber Valdez against Brian Bello. Good news was that Ty Madden, who started the game because of Tarek Skubal's injury, Ty Madden was really good. 5 innings, 4 hits, 7 strikeouts, no earned runs, and no walks. Tarek Skubal supposed to start that series opener, put on the IL, 15-day, with bone chips in his left elbow, surgery required there. Positive note, Kevin McGonigal, the 7th Tiger to ever to win Rookie of the Month. Pistons extend J.B. Bickerstaff's contract, rightfully so, as his team gets ready for Cleveland tonight. His good friend, Jamal Mosley of the Orlando Magic, they vacation together and so on and so forth. But Bickerstaff guided the Pistons to a come-from-behind 3-1 series deficit to win that series. Mosley then gets canned. Knicks knock out the Sixers last night, 137-98. Jalen Brunson had 35. That's game 1 of their Eastern Conference semifinal series. Timberwolves stunned San Antonio by a bucket. Julius Randle had a double-double. In the NHL, the Hurricanes beat the Flyers in overtime 3-2 after being down 2-0. Vegas beats Anaheim 3-1 in the Mitchell Lions Wealth Poll question of the day. We've already retweeted out there. Andy has tweeted it. What does Skubal's injury mean to the Tigers? They cannot make the playoffs without him. They won't finish 500. He likely won't leave via free agency because of the injury, or they will rally and still make the postseason. Vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. We'll give you the results tomorrow in the 8 o'clock hour as we talk about the Pistons and the Tigers game 2 as well. Speaking of the Tigers, how can they handle this situation, if at all, knowing the injuries that they've had? Casey Mize, Justin Verlander, Jackson Jobe, Troy Melton, Reese Olson, Will Vest, all those guys, significant pieces to the Tigers pitching puzzle. This is not, with all due respect, a setup guy that can be replaced. This is not a long inning guy that can be replaced, a guy who is an opener who can be replaced. These were starters expecting to log big innings. I say this every year before baseball season. I want my starters combined now to give me over 850 innings. Really important. Most teams, most champions, most playoff teams, that's what you're getting. Doesn't mean that it's always working. It doesn't mean it's a foolproof situation, but it is one of those situations when you look at the really good teams of the past, then you look at the starting pitching and you find out how many innings that starting pitching team is giving you, you will see more success than anything else. If you just look at the starting pitchers and you say, how many innings pitched am I getting from those starters? Philadelphia a year ago, 929 and 2/3. I'll give you 930 innings. Cleveland won the division, 890 innings. Seattle, 882. The Yankees, 873. I said I wanted 850, remember? Okay, so the teams that are giving you 850, there were 14 of them a year ago. The majority of them, not all of them, the majority of them made the postseason. There are outliers, no question, every single year. But that's an important statistic moving forward, okay? The Tigers could be, if you believe in that philosophy like I do, the Tigers, it could be a bit of an issue for them. Right now, let's monitor this, all right? Right now, they rank 12th in starting pitching innings. Let's see how that bodes for them moving forward, okay? With the numerous injuries to Mize and Verlander and Skubal, let's see what Framber Valdez can give you tonight. He needs to go deep tonight because this team has been relying so much on its bullpen and will have to moving forward. With that said, Ken Rosenthal, baseball insider for Fox, was recently on a podcast and said this about how the Tigers have to handle this situation with Skubal's latest injury.
Kevin, let's start with the Tigers. And they've got right now virtually an entire rotation on the injured list. It's not just Skubal. It's Casey Mize, it's Justin Verlander, it's Reese Olson, who's out for the season, and it's Jackson Jobe, who is their top prospect. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery to return around August. So they're in a tough spot right now with their pitching. Will Vest in their bullpen and Kenley Jansen also on the injured list. But the good news is they play in the endlessly forgiving AL Central, and most of these pitchers will be back at some point. So it's simply a matter of.
So really good and all very true. Obviously, we've stated the very same thing. All right. The good news, the one name he left out there was Troy Melton, and he began his rehab assignment just the other day. So that was good. Okay. It was Sunday. It was in Lakeland. He only threw 32 pitches. He only lasted 1 2/3. So there's a long way to go, but that's a good sign. Okay. Because he would be a big help. I like him more than I like Reese Olson. I love Jackson Jobe, even though I can't say I would have drafted him like the Tigers did out of high school, but I love his stuff. He's got wicked stuff. He's a top end rotation guy. He's another reason why I've said and stood fast. I wouldn't pay Tarek Skubal $400 million. What do you do about an ace? Well, they signed one in Framber Valdez. I would say Jackson Jobe would be that guy. He can be that guy when he returns. I think Troy Melton is a middle of the rotation type guy. And then, of course, you've got Casey Mize, depending on what's going on there. If you had a staff healthy of Valdez and Melton and Jobe and Mize, and then you fill in the blank with a couple of other guys, a guy like Madden, if he can get his stuff together at the back end of your rotation, you can sign a free agent who's a back end that won't be a lot really expensive. You can absorb a loss of a key pitcher like a Tarek Skubal.
Where does Cater Montero fit into this stuff for you right now with the way he's been?
Yeah, so it's a great question. He's one of those back end rotation type of guys. I'm not sold on him just yet, but if he was a back end rotation guy along with a Reese Olson, I would say yeah, I'm fine with that. I would rather have a more established pitcher as the back end, not necessarily Justin Verlander, but a Dylan Cease type of guy, although that would cost you some money. My point is you can get by losing certain individuals to injury or to free agency if those other guys are healthy. That's a massive if. I'm just telling you about the stuff, and I'm talking about the talent of a Troy Melton and of a Jackson Jobe, in addition to that of the obvious talent from a Framber Valdez. But Rosenthal went on to talk about Skubal and how this injury affects him. We talk about how it affects us emotionally. We talk about how it affects the Tigers in general. How about how it affects Skubal moving forward? Listen to this.
Kevin, we were talking about him as maybe the pitcher who is going to get the biggest contract for a pitcher in Major League history, ahead of Yamamoto at $325 million. Now it's not as clear. This is, as he mentioned, his third arm surgery. He had Tommy John in 2017 when he was still in college, flexor tendon surgery in 2022, and now this. So if your team's looking at him and looking at the medicals, you're going to have some concerns, certainly about a long deal.
Yes, all those deep concerns. Although Dr. Jeffrey Pierce told us earlier, look, you clean this out, he could be back sooner than people are letting on right now. Let's hope that's the case. But there's no question that as much as it may be disturbing to you and I and the Tigers organization, there's nobody more disturbed than Tarek Skubal for a number of different reasons. Competitive nature this year, long-term effects as well. When we come back, we'll give you the final results of the poll question. Lions schedule voted as one of the easier. Does that mean anything to you? And Dominic Shine at 8:35 on X's and Bros, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
It's a new day to celebrate and be free. It's a new day full of action and excitement because it's a day for winning. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, your getaway reimagined. It's been a bit of a shaky start to the season for the Tigers bullpen, but the pieces are starting to come together. Let's take a look at some of the key arms for the weeks ahead. Top of the list are Drew Anderson and Brant Herter. Anderson was simply not throwing strikes to start the year. Now he's in the zone with good stuff, getting some swing and miss. With some tweaks in his delivery, Herter is back to being a precision strike thrower with a deceptive delivery. He has dominated in his last 12 innings. Bert Smith is 36 with little success in the major leagues, but he's got stuff. It's a 4-pitch mix with some swing and miss. He's starting to get a bigger role late in games. And Ricky Benasco might be the most intriguing new arm. He started the year by striking out 28 of the 59 batters he faced at Toledo.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Huge Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Tarek will also go on the injured list, and I kind of walked through the timeline. He's got loose bodies in his elbow, which we have determined last night. When I said no news was good news, is we didn't have any news when I was sitting here 24 hours ago, and then during the game, I think he had another episode of it locking up and was uncomfortable. So we got scans on it yesterday, revealed the loose bodies, and he needs to get it taken care of.
It's AJ Hinch yesterday talking about Tarek Skubal's situation. It popped up most recently against Atlanta. And it was in that 7th inning where his team was up 3-2. It was the first batter, and it was a 2-2 pitch. It was against Matt Olson, and you could see him wiggling his arm a little bit, and they let him continue in that inning. Tigers losers last night, now 18-18. As Ken Rosenthal in the clip we played you just before the break, and as we've mentioned already, the beauty may be the wrong word, the good fortune that the Tigers have is that they play in, what would you say, Andy, the worst division in baseball? Is it the worst division in baseball?
I mean, yeah. I think right now, the whole AL is kind of struggling right now, so maybe it'll play itself out to be different, but it feels like it. I think people thought the Royals were going to be a little bit better, and they haven't been yet. They're getting back to being closer to 500 too, so it's still early for that, but obviously there's a lot of things to work itself out now with the way the Tigers roster looks too.
I don't know if this is semantics. Okay. I don't know if it's the worst division in baseball. They've got 2 teams that are 500. The West has 1 team over 500. The National League East has 1 team over 500. That's Atlanta. I mean, that the National League East has the Marlins and the Nationals and the Phillies and the Mets. Now, the Phillies and Mets we view as good teams because they've got big names and they spend a lot of money, but they're not playing like it. And one of them has fired their manager already.
Yeah, and it's people were saying coming into the season they were kind of nervous about Philly, like maybe this is finally the year. They start to fall off of the train that they've been on a little bit. So it's not like that was like unpredicted. And obviously what the Mets are doing, that's going to be a really hard hole to climb out of no matter who you are. So
every team, this might give you an indication. And as I've said before, we're at 36 games now. When we talked earlier this year, we said at some point we're going to stop saying it's early. I asked Andy how many games. He said 40. All right, so we're almost there. You got 4 games left before you get there. I said 50. I like to give it a little bit more of a breathing room. Either way, we're getting closer and closer. There's 1 team in the American League Central that has a positive run scoring differential. It's the Tigers. There's 1 team in the American League West that has a run scoring positive differential, and they're not even in first place. It's Seattle. Okay, they're a +3. They're 2 games back. There is 1 team in the National League East that has a positive run scoring differential, and it's the best in baseball. That's the Atlanta Braves. They're a +80. There's 1 team in the National League West that has a positive run scoring differential, and it's the LA Dodgers. The best division in baseball right now is the NL Central. I know. I would have been shaking my head too.
No one was guessing that, but yeah, with how they're playing right now, you can't deny it. That's for sure.
And in case people are wondering, Andy, it's the Cubs, the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Reds, and the Brewers. Those are the 5 teams in the NL Central. All right. There's only 1 team that does not have a positive run scoring differential, and that is the Cincinnati Reds, who beat the Tigers 2 out of 3 and are 20-15 on the year. Like even Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's in 4th place in that division. They are 19-16. My apologies. But they did win last. They've won 3 in a row. Via text, Shep, what do you think a team like Pittsburgh does with their star pitcher? Because if you wait longer, you're taking a chance on injuries and losing his trade power. Well, that's true. They're referring to Paul Skeens there. That's true. You do wait, and you do run that risk. Do I have to look at every single young pitcher and worry about that? Spencer Strider was signed to a long-term extension and missed a full season. Teams who do, Garrett Cole, You brought up Pittsburgh, so I'll bring up another former Pittsburgh Pirate, Garrett Cole. They didn't sign him. Was that a mistake? Sure seemed like it. Okay. Now he had an injury last year, but overall, Atlanta, Max Fried. I think there's more examples of you probably feeling like you should have signed a pitcher to a long-term deal than not. Just because Tarek Skubal's injury is front mind right now and top mind awareness doesn't mean that Pittsburgh has to say, oh my God, we either have to trade Paul Skeens or we have to sign him to a long-term deal. But in fairness to the texter's point, there are more power pitchers that are experiencing these types of injuries. Why is that? It's a great question. It's something that we could get into with Doc later on in the season, I suppose. Maybe it's, some of these guys, you're seeing high schoolers, folks, who actually want Tommy John because they think it's better for their arm, their elbow, which to me sounds absolutely insane. Like, where's the parenting? Let's see here. Let's see. Shep, let me look through here. Lolich should be in before Schilling. Their numbers are similar. Mickey never told the Hall of Fame, I don't want to be there anyways. Well, you could say that all you want. It doesn't take away from the fact that you should be in there. Kurt Schilling in big game. Now, he pitched in more big games. Lolich was unbelievable in 68. Just incredible. But it was the only time he was in the playoffs, right? At least in the World Series. Kurt Schilling isn't like that. I mean, Kurt Schilling was co-MVP with the Diamondbacks, what he did with Boston. I know, the Bloody Sock. He's an absolute gamer. Don't tell me you wouldn't want him. I'd take him any single day of the week, okay? It's the similar numbers, and you know how I have said this. I've supported Mickey Lolich for a long time. I've chastised the Tigers for not supporting as much as he should be. Nobody's going to put up those types of numbers like Mickey Lolich, although Kurt Schilling did lead the league 3 times in starts, okay? Did lead the league twice in innings pitched. It's not 350, but it's 256. It's a hell of a lot more than a lot of pitchers today. And it wasn't that long ago, 2001, Kurt Schilling led the league in innings pitched with 257 innings. And I rounded up because it's 256 and 2/3. He's got a career WAR of 80.5. He's got 216 wins, but look at his numbers in the playoffs. His postseason numbers, if you think it's different, because this is what we've said, it's different for Jared Goff, it's different for Cade Cunningham, it's different for a lot of people, right? Kurt Schilling in his career is 11-2 in 12 series. In his postseason career, he's 11-2 with a 2.23 ERA. Good? With 4 complete games. I might add. So that tells you something, don't you think? I mean, Tarek Skubal, with all due respect, has 1 complete game in his career. Kurt Schilling's got 4 in his postseason career. He's a throwback. Don't tell me that he shouldn't be in there. He should absolutely be in there. And I think Mickey Lolich, you can make the case for him too. Schilling with 216 wins, Mickey Lolich with 217, Mickey Lolich with the numbers, the wins, the complete games, the starts, unbelievable. Not even close in ERA, I might add. Kurt Schilling by far and away better in ERA. What he did in 68 is just absolutely incredible. Okay. So I've already gone to bat for that, no pun intended. But Mickey Lolich only pitched in 2 playoffs, in the World Series in 1968 and in the ALCS in 1972 against Oakland, right? It was against Oakland. So in his career, if you want to look at it from that standpoint, it pales in comparison. That's all. We will get to the final results of our poll question from yesterday at the end of our interview with Dominic Shine. But when we come back, it's a really good story. Dominic Shine joins us to talk about Grand Rapids, to talk about the time that he reached the NHL, his first goal, and a whole lot more. The Grand Rapids forward joins us right after this on X's and Bros, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Huge here with a message for all the golfers all across Michigan. Have you played at Crystal Mountain? Now, the resort is located in Thompsonville, Michigan, 2.5 hours northwest of Grand Rapids. They feature Mountain Ridge and Betsy Valley, two renowned 18-hole championship layouts, incredible accommodations, food, beverages, and more. It's time for you to book a stay and play package at Crystal Mountain today. Go to crystalmountain.com. That's crystalmountain.com. Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Dorn Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation, they present Talking Hoops with John Beeline. We do it every Tuesday on the Huge Show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday on the Huge Show as we talk hoops, presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew. Josh Garvey oversees the West Michigan operation. Their worldwide headquarters for Dorn Mayhew are in Troy, Michigan.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptation. More and Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office at etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops, together again.
Tomorrow night is Game 3 of the AHL playoffs, in which Grand Rapids will be squaring off against the Manitoba Moose. Both games ending in shutouts so far. Game 1, a Manitoba 1-0 win. Game 2, a 2-0 Grand Rapids win. Dominic Shine will be vital for Grand Rapids to keep advancing. He's been a massive part of their success this year, and a feel-good story of getting up to the Detroit Red Wings as well. And he joins us here on X's and Bros. Dominic, we followed your career from afar. We appreciate all that you've sacrificed. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it very much. How are you today?
Hey, good. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Biggest question of the day. As a father of two, how is it different from one to having two in the household?
It's everything. Getting out of the house in the morning, getting breakfast ready, all that stuff. It's just my wife has been unbelievable, taking care of the little one, and I've kind of been on duty for our 3-year-old. So it's been great.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. When you get outnumbered, that's when things get challenging. I don't think your life changes a whole lot when you have one, maybe even two. How has your life changed?
It's definitely, I think it's just tough in season because, we travel so much. So I'm away from home quite a bit. So I think that's the toughest thing is when they're little, you kind of, they change every day, right? So if I'm gone for, a week, I come back, she's a different kid than when I left. So I feel like that's the part that's pretty tough.
You've stayed with your passion and what you're so good at in playing the game of hockey that you love so much. What have you learned about yourself through your journey, through the AHL, striving to get to the NHL, accomplishing that goal, getting your first point on an assist to Dylan Larkin against Calgary, scoring your first goal in a game against the Devils? What's it taught you about yourself?
I think it's taught me, a lesson in life is that, just never give up. It sounds super cliche and, people say it all the time, but you never really know. When I got to the American League, I had really high hopes to play in the NHL. Like that was my goal. It's everyone's goal who plays at this level and plays hockey in general. I got here, I realized how good everyone is. You get to the American League and you think you're probably gonna maybe dominate or you don't know what to expect, and everyone in this league is good. And a couple of years in, 3-4 years, I'm kind of just grinding, doing my thing, and I maybe saw the NHL dream maybe not slip away, but I kind of just focused on trying to be like a good player here, and I didn't really think about the NHL and kind of thought maybe it was gone. Just kept my head down, kept going, and I got my opportunity. So I just think not giving up. You never really know who's watching. You know what I mean? They could be another team who's interested. It could be your GM, but someone sees the work you put in, and it pays off.
What have you noticed was the biggest difference between the American Hockey League, where you're literally one shift away from reaching the apple, and the NHL? What's the biggest difference in your mind?
I think everyone is just super detailed. When you get to the American League, everyone has the skill, right? Everyone's good enough to play at this level, but not everyone maybe thinks the game and plays the system, that their team plays perfectly. When you get to the NHL, everyone plays their system perfectly. Everyone's in their place. I think that's the biggest thing. No one's really running around going crazy. Everyone's pretty calm and just in the right area at the right time.
Dominic Shine of the Grand Rapids Griffins and the NHL Detroit Red Wings joining us here on X's and Bros. I've always found this fascinating in calling games and being around teams for as long as I have in this business. I notice how much film people watch. Basketball, I've been in those meetings. Football, been in those meetings. Baseball, they watch on the iPad. You guys sometimes are doing that on the bench as well. But how much you talked about thinking the game and studying the game and being a student of the game. How much of that really takes place in hockey? What are you doing to prepare to find out other tendencies about opposing teams that help you in a game?
A ton. That's a lot about, sports in general, especially at this level. It's all about preparation. The thing with hockey is it's so fluid, right? It's always going, there's no time to stop and set a play really. So you have to kind of be prepared before the game. So I think having a team game plan and then executing that game plan is what it's all about. And that's how teams have success.
Speaking of success, the regular season where you play 72 games in, Grand Rapids won 51 of them, only lost 16 games. all season long in regulation. What do you think the key to Grand Rapids' success was during the regular season, and how does it change, if at all, in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think the key to success in the regular season was everyone was bought in. Everyone was having fun. Playing for each other, playing hockey. Like I think the way I described it was like it felt like we were 10 years old again. Everyone was just having fun, laughing, but executing our systems, and that's why we were so good during the regular season. Now, when you get to playoffs, things change. It gets harder. Other teams get a little more angry. They're a little more desperate. So I think you saw that in the first 2 games against Manitoba. They're a good team. Everyone in this league is a good team when they really bear down. So I think it's just a matter of us sticking with it. Playing for each other and executing.
I think you're right. 21 goals during the regular season, a plus 25 during the regular season. Is that the reason you think you got called up? It's one thing scoring goals, but it's another thing being responsible on the ice in 5-on-5. What was the biggest reason you thought you deserved and earned the promotion to the Red Wings this year?
I think they were just looking for someone who could play the role that they needed well. They wanted a little bit of energy, which is something I've always took pride in bringing. Playing fast, hitting a little bit. Maybe a fight every now and then. So I think that's what they were looking for, and I'm really really thankful I got that opportunity.
The situation with the Wings is an interesting one because so many of us feel like outside the room feel like this team needs to play with a little more sandpaper, be hard to play against. When we hear that term, can you explain it, what it means in hockey, tough to play against, and where that team needs to improve in that regard, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more than just fighting. I mean, there's a ton of ways you can play hard. You can, finish your checks in the corners. You can win your corner battles, things like that. So I think when people talk about sandpaper, they're just talking about, a guy going out there and putting in work and giving it his all every night. You can't take a night off. Sorry, excuse me, but getting called up there, you see how these teams who are really good, like these teams who, Dallas, obviously they lost, but Tampa, they lost as well, but those are the teams that I played while I was there because I was only there for 20 games. But these teams who are good, they don't take a night off. They're working every night, and you can see the reason they have success is because they're putting in that work every night. So it's more than just fighting. I think it's just going out there and leaving it all out there.
I know you love what you do, and you should because you're really good at it. But when you played ever since you were a little kid, to Northern Michigan, to the AHL, whether you're in various camps or whatever the case may be, and the Detroit Red Wings, how do you not let the sport become more free-flowing for you? Sports in general. I don't care what sport you're playing. Athletes seem to be better equipped to handle situations when they play freely. Are you able to do that on a regular basis, even though you're trying to impress every single night, especially when you get to the highest level?
I think for me, it takes a little time because I think at every level I've kind of had not this issue, but I've dealt with this at every level, So I get to Lincoln, which is juniors, my first year.
Yeah.
The coach doesn't trust you yet, so you have to show him you're responsible defensively. And then you get that freedom, you grow your game from there. And then I got to college, same thing. He didn't really know if I could play defense or whatnot. So you have to earn your coach's trust before you can kind of play free and kind of try to be creative and make plays. So I think that's the biggest thing. And at every level, it gets magnified even more, your mistakes. So you get to the NHL, you get there. I can't, a player who's just cracking the lineup, he can't take the same chances that say Nathan McKinnon could take, or one of those bigger players. And I think that's something that athletes in general deal with all the time. So I think the guys who step in right away and can play freely but also defend are the guys who are really elite. And I think those are the guys who really take over the NHL and earn their spot really quickly because they get that freedom more quickly. You get what I'm saying?
Dominic Shine of the Grand Rapids Griffins joining us here on X's and Bros. Tomorrow they play Manitoba. They're in Grand Rapids, tied at 1-1 in the AHL playoffs. I remember talking with Whit Merrifield, who played for the Kansas City Royals, Toronto Blue Jays, and a few other teams in Major League Baseball one time. And he grew a lot of inspiration from his Double-A manager misspelling his name on the lineup card as a reserve. And he took a picture of it, and he used that as motivation. Is there ever a moment where, because people talk about you playing with a chip on your shoulder, is there ever a moment where you look back and you use that as your motivation, or is it just regularly people trying to count you out that you're going to prove them wrong?
I think for me, it's been my whole life. I think I was an undersized forward. And I just wanted to prove to people that I belonged. And, people would count me out, all the time. Even as a kid, I remember there was a moment. We won the national championship my U16 year with CompuWare. Okay. I was second on the team in points. Wasn't on the power play, and that's the year. So like, if you make the national development program, which is the Team USA and Plymouth, there, you get an invite to the camp. So we won the national championship. We were the best team at U16. Didn't get an invite to camp, and I think that moment right there was like, I'm going to prove to these guys that I can play. And I think ever since then, I kind of just carried that. Like, I have something to prove every night, and I still have it with me to this day.
And it worked out for you. I mean, you were on the ballot for the Hobie Baker Award in 2016. You were all WCHA. And of course, you have made it to the NHL. No one will ever be able to take that away from you. And I think it's an inspiring story. Do you ever look at it that way? That you inspire others who might feel like, I hate the word disrespect, but overlooked oftentimes. Do you ever get that sense that you do influence those who are trying to do what you do?
I don't think about it right now, but I think there's going to be a day where I look back on my career and really see it. I feel really proud that guys can look to me as inspiration, because like, truly, I'm a kid from Detroit. I grew up, my parents had me when they were 18, grew up with my grandparents, with 8 of my cousins. Just wanted to work. You know what I mean? I love sports. That's what I love to do. I loved everything. I love baseball, basketball. And when I found my avenue in hockey, I was just like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to work hard every day. I'm going to prove that I'm good, and I'm going to find a way. And I truly, that's how I lived my life. I loved playing sports, and just wake up every day and give it your all. And every time you compete, as long as you give it your all, man, you never know who's watching. You never know what you can do. So
yeah, it's
pretty cool. And I feel honored.
Yeah, people should be honored to watch you as well. It's interesting. I bet you a lot of people don't know you were drafted in the National Roller Hockey League, weren't you?
Yeah. That was. I don't really know what that was. It was kind of like a pop-up league. But yeah, I played roller hockey too. A lot of guys from Michigan grew up playing roller hockey and ice hockey, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that hockey is expanding the way it is. I think that's really important. But I love the success that Grand Rapids is having. Who are some of the young guys who who've caught your eye? I say this all the time, Dominic. I say it's really hard to impress people like you, because you've been there, done that, seen some of the best, played against some of the best, have been the best at certain levels of your career. Who's impressed you in Grand Rapids?
Man, it's so hard. We have so many young, talented players, and I mean, that's the reason we won, 51 games this year. Is, a lot of those guys had great years, and they might go. It's hard because you come in as a young kid. You don't, like exactly what I said earlier. You don't really know how good everyone is, and you get here and you got to put in work, and that's what everyone on this team's done. There's countless guys, so I don't want to say one or two, because maybe some other guys will be mad at me. I didn't name them or something, but you just come watch our team. You can see who the guys are, and they work. So.
All right, toughest question perhaps coming. When were you most intimidated? Most intimidated when the first time you put on your college hockey jersey, your professional hockey jersey, your Red Wings jersey, or the time you were in the delivery room of your first child?
First child, without a doubt. Not even close.
It's almost scary, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, not even close.
Well, your wife's a champion. We hope you become an AHL champion this year. We appreciate the time very much. Keep up the great work. We hope to see you again in Detroit real soon because you've earned it. And you're somebody that I think a lot of people look at and say, if he can do it, I can do it too. So thanks for the inspiration and thanks for the time this morning.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. That's Dominic Shine here joining us here on X's and Bros. He and the Grand Rapids Griffins ready to square off against the Manitoba Moose tomorrow at Van Andel Arena in Game 3 of their AHL playoff series. He's a really good dude, man. And, I hope people look at his story when everybody says, oh, this guy, how are you going to be able to do that? You really can't. When he never gave up on it. He's 33 now, so he's not a kid, okay? And people say, a little undersized. If you're, I guess, 5'10", 5'11", 175 pounds, maybe you are. Okay, you're sure not a power forward. But he does give you that grinded out effect. He does. He plays a lot like that grind line.
Absolutely, man. And you asked the question about who's one of the, the players to watch for. I mean, there are a lot of them on this team that are great. I've been very close to watching them all season, covering them a lot with my other job with Wood TV. He's a huge reason for it, though. I mean, him being the captain and named the captain this year, it changed that locker room from how it was a year ago when they had a lot of these same guys, and he's been a huge reation they've been able to have a lot of the success they've had.
And you can make a good living playing in the AHL. That's why I said they'll never take away what does he play? He's played 27 career games in the NHL. Never take that away. How many guys get that opportunity? Not many.
And he worked for it, man. He really did.
And he works for it, and he earned it more than anything else. Let's get to the final results of the poll question from yesterday before we're out of here on this Tullymore Tuesday. The Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question from yesterday. Besides Cade Cunningham, which Piston impressed you most in the series against Orlando? Was it Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris, Duncan Robinson, or Danis Jenkins? How did people vote, Andy?
I can't say it surprises me, but Tobias Harris got 67% of the vote. I feel like a lot of people were just super impressed the way he played those last few games to pair with Cade in the scoring column. And then Asar Thompson got 26% of the vote. I think he's definitely the guy who should be coming in number 2 there. Duncan Robinson, 4%, Danis Jenkins, 3%. So it was those two guys that people saw the most from, for sure.
Yeah, I that's the reason we put the question together, correct? Because we just wanted to see the balance between Harris and Thompson. We got chance for 4 choices. Putting only 2 didn't seem to make a lot of sense because maybe some people did feel like Danis Jenkins surprised them, especially in Game 7.
No, and last year, what were we complaining about? They weren't making enough 3-pointers. Duncan Robinson did have some games where he had some big 3-pointers for them. So I do think he deserved to be in there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I will say this. I still admit that they're not making enough 3-pointers.
Absolutely not.
They haven't been able to make up what they lost a year ago. It'll be interesting in Game 1 tonight against Cleveland. Remember, Dennis Schroeder, who played for this team a year ago, plays against them tonight. JB Bickerstaff, who coached that Cleveland team 3 years ago, okay? Not last year, but the year before, so 2 years ago, will go up against his old team. Game 1 tonight. We'll talk about it here on X's and Bros tomorrow morning. Our thanks to Dr. Jeffrey Pierce for explaining the Tarek Skubal situation, Dominic Shine of the Grand Rapids Griffins, and to you for giving us a little bit of your Tullymore Tuesday. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning at 6. And don't forget the huge show later today from 3 till 7 on these same station affiliates.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
It's a new day to celebrate and be free. It's a new day full of action and excitement because it's a day for winning. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, your getaway reimagined.
It's been a bit of a shaky start to the season for the Tigers bullpen, but the pieces are starting to come together. Let's take a look at some of the key arms for the weeks ahead. Top of the list are Drew Anderson and Brant Herter. Anderson was simply not throwing strikes to start the year. Now he's in the zone with good stuff, getting some swing and miss. With some tweaks in his delivery, Herter is back to being a precision strike thrower with a deceptive delivery. He has dominated in his last 12 innings. Bert Smith is 36 with little success in the major leagues, but he's got stuff. It's a 4-pitch mix with some swing and miss. He's starting to get a bigger role late in games. And Ricky Benasco might be the most intriguing new arm. He started the year by striking out 28 of the 59 batters he faced at Toledo.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC Warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC Warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptation. Boy, Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office at etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops, together again.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation